In 1912, 4-year-old Bobby Dunbar vanished on a family trip only to be found months later. However, a century of DNA evidence suggests the boy returned home was a stranger, leaving a mystery that haunts history forever. Moments after leaving their wedding venue in 2023, newlyweds Samantha Miller and Eric Hutchinson were struck by a drunk driver, a devastating collision that claimed the bride's life and shattered a joyous future in an instant. Found dead in her tent in Iraq in 2005, 19-year-old LaVena Johnson suffered brutal, unexplained injuries. Yet the government swiftly ruled her case a suicide, leaving a grieving family to fight for justice that remains elusive. Forced to endure 30 experimental surgeries in the 1840s, Anarcha Westcott suffered at the hands of a doctor who denied her pain, ultimately becoming the unwitting mother of modern gynecology through her agonizing and historic endurance. Shot March 9, 1945. Joseph Goebbels awarded 16-year-old Hitler Youth member Willy Hubner the Iron Cross for his defense of Loban, a chilling snapshot of the desperate final days when children were sent to fight wars. Amid the heat of Operation Desert Storm in Saudi Arabia, in 1991, exhausted nurse Amy Stewart clutches a family teddy bear while grabbing a fleeting nap, capturing the quiet, lonely struggle of soldiers serving far from home. Photographed in December 1924, after his release from Landsberg prison, 35-year-old Adolf Hitler had just finished dictating his hateful manifesto, oblivious that his dark ambitions would soon plunge the entire world into a devastating, unimaginable conflict. On November 11, 1989, a historic traffic jam choked the Brandenburg Gate as cars flowed freely between East and West Berlin, for the first time signaling the collapse of division and the dawn of a unified Germany. Are following the brutal Battle of St. Quentin Canal on September 29, 1918. Weary soldiers from Britain's 137th Infantry Brigade show the heavy toll of war, forever marked by the chaos of a conflict that changed everything. A young Anne Frank stands innocently on the doorstep of her father's Amsterdam office in 1935, a poignant, ordinary moment, unaware that her future would soon be stolen by the shadows of a rapidly encroaching war. Left behind by their dive. Boat off the coast of North Queensland in January 1998, tourists Tom and Eileen Lonergan were tragically abandoned in the Coral Sea, vanishing into the deep waters without leaving a single trace. After being brutally attacked and left for dead in South Africa. In 1994, the miraculous survival of Alison Botha allowed her to identify her tormentors, proving her incredible strength and courage in the face of unimaginable cruelty. Before she became a global icon, our 18-year-old Diana Spencer worked as a nanny in 1979, captured here during a simple, quiet walk, completely unaware that she was destined to become the most photographed woman on Earth. When 18-year-old Philip met 13-year-old Princess Elizabeth at the Royal Navy College in 1939, their initial encounter sparked a lifelong connection, beginning a royal romance that would eventually endure through the dramatic decades of British history. During the brutal siege of Sarajevo between 1992 and 1996, depraved foreigners paid high prices to target civilians from sniper nests, turning the suffering of innocent families into a sick, horrific game called a human safari. After spending 700 days in solitary confinement on suspicion of stealing a backpack, a young black teenager was released, but found no peace, tragically ending his life after enduring such profound and isolating state injustice. April 2011. Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès murdered his entire family in their sleep before burying them beneath their terrace and vanishing, leaving behind a chilling, unsolved mystery that remains one of France's most disturbing crimes. In The Horrors of Auschwitz during 1941, Father Maximilian Kolbe selflessly offered his own life to save a condemned man, demonstrating a profound ultimate act of love that echoed through the darkness of the death camp. This, a final image of 18-year-old Natalie Holloway at an Aruba nightclub in 2005, serves as a haunting reminder of the night she vanished, never to be found, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a grieving family. After her daughter Karen was kidnapped by the cartel in 2012, Mother Miriam Rodriguez took justice into her own hands, tracking down those responsible with relentless determination until they were finally held accountable for their horrific crimes. In a touching show of solidarity in 2013, former President George H.W. Bush shaved his head to support a young child battling leukemia, reflecting a deep personal empathy rooted in his own tragic loss years earlier. At the funeral of Gianni Versace in 1997, Princess Diana comforted a grieving Elton John, unaware that only weeks later the world would be mourning her own sudden and shocking death in a tragic Parisian accident. Comparing his, a muscular prime in 1998 to the present day, bodybuilding legend Ronnie Coleman showcases the brutal physical cost of his dedication, revealing how the relentless pursuit of greatness can forever change the human body's form. On September 11, 2001, 21-year-old Nicole Carroll Miller boarded Flight 93 with no inkling of the terror ahead, her final journey captured in a mundane moment before she became a victim of that dark, historic morning. Waiting in. Silence for their execution during the violent communist purge in Indonesia. In 1965, these men faced a terrifying end symbols of the thousands lost in a brutal campaign that remains a deep national scar. Standing tall in 1931, the ancient giant Buddha of Bamiyan was a testament to history in Afghanistan, yet it was ultimately destroyed by the Taliban in 2001, leaving an irreplaceable void in the world's cultural heritage. Photographed by Luther M. Hamilton. At around 1900, these identical twins capture the turn of the century, with their haunting clear gaze reminding us of the timeless human connection that bridges the gap between generations long gone. Caught in 1935, this scene, labeled as dangerous but passable, reveals the harsh grit of San Francisco during the Great Depression, offering a glimpse into the resilient spirit of people navigating a world in economic turmoil. On a bustling London street in 1954, a young boy playfully attempts a headstand, capturing a fleeting moment of childhood innocence and urban joy that reminds us of the simple magic found in the most everyday places. Motorcycles roar as they line up at the Beverly Hills Speedway in the 1920s, with riders tensing for the starting gun in a high-stakes display of early American racing culture and the relentless pursuit of speed. On the set of Goldfinger in 1964, Sean Connery epitomizes cinematic. You'll cool as James Bond beside his iconic Aston Martin, a legendary pairing that defined an era of sophisticated espionage and forever changed the landscape of action. Under the ominous glow of a 1955 New York sky, William Klein captured a hauntingly beautiful scene that evokes the lingering anxieties of the atomic age, blending urban grit with a surreal sense of cosmic mid-century wonder. Traveling to Japan in 1980, the legendary Andre the Giant appears truly. Massive within the cramped confines of an airplane, a striking visual testament to the unique physical challenges faced by a man who was larger than life. In a rare moment of musical history at the 1967 Monterey Pop Festival, Jimi Hendrix and Brian Jones share a conversation two icons of the counterculture revolution captured before the fleeting height of their immense creative powers. Balancing with one hand atop Argentina's famous moving stone, around a 1900 Italian acrobat, Santin Vanzella, performs a death-defying feat of strength and precision, showcasing the incredible bravery of circus performers from a bygone era of entertainment. During the 1950s, in the harsh Russian wilderness, a woman calmly feeds a polar bear through a window, a startling and serene interaction between human and predator that highlights the strange, beautiful connections found in isolation. A vibrant group of punks hangs out on London's King's Road in 1988, their bold fashion and defiant spirits serving as a colorful rebellion against the status quo during a decade defined by radical self-expression and subcultural pride. Bill Brandt's 1933 lens captures the rain-swept roofs of London, where the glistening tiles and heavy mist create a moody atmospheric portrait of a city breathing through the damp shadows of a quiet, somber English afternoon. Dressed in full costume during the early 1940s, Johan Pettersson, known as the Viking Giant, stands as a towering figure of Icelandic heritage, his massive frame and gentle spirit making him a legendary marvel of the mid-century world. Engineers at the walls and slipway stand beside a massive propeller assembly for the RMS Mauritania in 1906, a staggering display of Edwardian industrial might that powered the fastest and grandest ocean liner of its storied maritime generation. Around 1902, ostriches pull a custom cart at a Los Angeles farm, a peculiar sight that reflects the eccentricities of early California life and the creative, if unusual ways, people integrated exotic nature into their daily routines. Amidst the political turmoil of 1968, a pro-Vietnam War rally marches through New York City, capturing the deep ideological divisions of an American era where every voice sought to shape the soul and future of the nation. On a London street, in 1876, a mobile vendor offers ice cream to curious passers-by, a charming glimpse into the Victorian origins of street food culture that brought small, sweet comforts to the working class of the city. In 1913, members of the Blackfoot tribe stand with quiet dignity in Glacier National Park. Their presence a powerful reminder of the deep ancestral ties to a majestic landscape that was changing rapidly around their ancient, enduring culture. Emerging from the Izu's devastation of August 1945, a young woman who survived the atomic bombing of Nagasaki looks toward the future with a haunting gaze, embodying the incredible resilience of the human spirit amidst unimaginable historical tragedy. Pedaling through the 1920 Tour de France, weary cyclists share a cigarette while climbing grueling mountain peaks, a rugged and forgotten tradition from an era when grit and camaraderie were the only fuel for the world's toughest race. In 1944, a soldier's knees go weak when actress Linda Darnell asks him for a dance at the Hollywood Canteen, a heartwarming moment of pure joy provided to servicemen during the long, exhausting years of the war. A man experiences a moment of perfect irony in 1966, captured in a witty photograph that proves life's funniest coincidences are often found in the small, unscripted details of the world around us, if we only look closely. Long before leading his nation through crisis, a young Volodymyr Zelensky is seen in the 1980s, an ordinary boy in Ukraine whose future path toward global leadership and wartime resilience was yet to be written in history. A worker at the Hoover Dam in 1931 wears an early version of the hard hat, a vital innovation born from the dangerous heights and grueling conditions of one of the greatest engineering feats in American history. In 1940, Orson Welles sits before a mirror, removing the heavy makeup used for Citizen Kane, revealing the tired face of a young genius who had just completed what many consider the greatest film ever made. Within his Houston Street laboratory in 1899, Nikola Tesla demonstrates the awe-inspiring power of wireless transmission, a visionary moment from a man whose brilliant mind sought to light the world through the invisible forces of nature. A weary Turkish soldier returns home in 1912 after the First Balkan War, his tired eyes reflecting the heavy toll of a conflict that reshaped borders and foreshadowed the global upheaval that was soon to follow in Europe. High above a London street in the 1890s, a worker carefully changes a light bulb, a precarious and essential task during the early days of electrification when the city was first emerging from the shadows of gaslight. In the serene photograph, Nature's Mirror. From 1908, a calm reflection captures the profound beauty of the American wilderness, honoring the spiritual connection between the land and the indigenous people who have protected it for countless generations. Venus the Bulldog, the loyal mascot of the HMS Van Sittart, stands proudly in 1941, offering a sense of comfort and steadfast companionship to the Royal Navy sailors facing the constant dangers of the treacherous Atlantic crossing. Dressed for a duty in 1942, an English postwoman delivers mail during the height of the war, embodying the vital role women played in keeping the country running and connected while the world was engulfed in global conflict. Emerging from the shadows like a visitor from another world, the man who fell to earth captures a sense of profound isolation and mystery, reflecting the fragile nature of identity in an ever-changing and often unforgiving universe. In the 1920s, Rwandan man displays the intricate Amasunzu hairstyle, a stunning mark of social status and tradition that celebrated cultural identity through the artistry of form long before the influence of the modern Western world. Two German soldiers pedal a tandem bicycle generator in 1917 to power a field radio, a fascinating example of the creative and exhausting manual labor required to maintain vital communications during the mechanical chaos of the Great War. After luring her attacker into the woods to deliver her own form of final justice, a Coast Guard veteran sought a tattoo to mark the end of a harrowing chapter, a dark and complex story of retribution. In 1995, 6-year-old Rosie Tapia was stolen from her Salt Lake City bedroom and tragically murdered, leaving behind a cold case that still haunts the community as they continue to search for the justice she deserves. Using only their legs against the damp tunnel walls, two ferrymen propel a heavy barge through the English waterways in 1961, practicing a grueling ancient technique that was once the heartbeat of the nation's industrial transport system. The Manhattan Bridge rises over New York City. In 1909, a skeletal masterpiece of steel and ambition that would soon link the boroughs and transform the skyline into a symbol of modern progress and urban connectivity. In 1977, toymaker George Willig spent 3 hours scaling the South Tower of the World Trade Center using custom tools, a daring feat of urban climbing that captured the imagination of a city looking for wonder. A 1963 vision of the future depicts a family wearing gas masks for their daily commute, a chilling and prophetic warning about the dangers of unchecked air pollution that continues to resonate in our modern environmental struggle. Photographed by Edward S. Curtis in 1908, Bull Chief of the Absaroke tribe gazes forward with a powerful presence, preserving the dignity and heritage of a leader whose people navigated a rapidly vanishing way of American life. In 1920, the aging master Claude Monet sits within his sun-drenched Giverny studio, surrounded by the vibrant water lily paintings that would become his lasting legacy and redefine the beauty of light for generations of art lovers. High above the Earth in 1969, astronaut Dave Scott peers out. From the Apollo 9 command module, a breathtaking perspective of human exploration, where the cold vacuum of space meets the thin, fragile blue line of our home. Gazing out with fixed, glassy eyes, these vintage dolls from a bygone era evoke a sense of nostalgic mystery, reminding us of the silent companions that once filled the nurseries and imaginations of children long ago. In 1947, Washington, D.C., Henri Cartier-Bresson captured a decisive moment of urban life, where the geometry of the city and the movement of people aligned to reveal a hidden poetic rhythm within the heart of the capital. The old Stockholm telephone tower stands as a massive web of wires in the 1890s, a sprawling monument to the dawn of the telecommunications age when the world first began to knit itself together through spoken word. Young Christopher Robin Milne sits with his original stuffed bear in 1928, the real-life inspiration for his father's timeless Winnie the Pooh stories that would eventually go on to enchant the hearts of millions of children worldwide. In 1912, French inventor H. Mercier demonstrated his remarkable four-stroke powered roller skates, a daring and futuristic attempt to revolutionize personal transportation long before the advent of the modern motorized gadgets we use today. Canadian painter William Brimner poses for a studio portrait in the 1880s, his thoughtful, expression reflecting the soul of an artist and teacher who dedicated his life to capturing the quiet beauty and character of his homeland. A glimpse into dentistry in the late 1800s reveals a world of rudimentary tools and stark endurance, where a visit to the doctor was a formidable test of courage long before the comforts of modern medical science. After the grueling intensity of a brutal World War II battle in the 1940s, a group of weary Marines shares a quiet coffee break, finding a moment of humble peace and brotherhood amidst the surrounding devastation. A Great Dane enjoys the wind in its face while riding shotgun in a sports car through Hollywood. In 1961, a charming and stylish scene that perfectly captures the glamorous, carefree spirit of mid-century California living. Tucked away in a silver locket during the 1940s, a small photograph served as a vital bridge between home and the front lines, carrying the cherished image of a loved one through the darkest days of war. In 1865, Abraham Lincoln spoke with a profound and biting moral clarity against the institution of slavery, challenging the conscience of a nation to finally fulfill its promise of liberty and justice for every human being. A Japanese girl band performs on traditional instruments around 1870, a beautiful fusion of cultural artistry and history that showcases the elegant musical traditions thriving during a period of significant national transition and opening to the world. Bedouins travel across the vast Arabian sands in the early 1900s, their nomadic way of life a testament to human resilience and a deep ancient understanding of the desert's harsh beauty and its many hidden secrets. In 1968, Johnny Cash took the stage at Folsom Prison to perform for the inmates a legendary concert that bridged the gap between the free world and the forgotten, cemented by his raw, empathetic musical spirit. Long before the digital revolution, workers in 1950 painstakingly mapped the Cambridge electrical system using rulers and ink, a monumental task of precision that laid the vital groundwork for the modern infrastructure we often take for granted. On the set of The Legacy in 1978, young Sam Elliott and Catherine Ross found a connection that would last a lifetime, beginning a Hollywood romance that has endured with grace and devotion for nearly 50 years. The only known photograph of a living quagga taken at the London Zoo in 1870 serves as a poignant and haunting record of a species now lost forever, reminding us of our profound responsibility to the natural world. A farmer in 1940 Pie Town, New Mexico, looks out over his land with a face etched by hard work and perseverance, embodying the rugged spirit of rural America as it struggled to emerge from the Depression. In 1897, Swedish explorers stood beside their crashed balloon on the Arctic ice, a tragic image recovered decades later that tells a harrowing story of ambition, survival, and the unforgiving power of the world's most frozen frontier. James Dean leans against a fence on the set of Giant in 1955, a candid moment capturing the brooding intensity of a young star whose brief, brilliant career would leave an indelible mark on the soul of cinema. Beatlemania erupted at Shea Stadium in 1965 as thousands of screaming fans greeted the Fab for a seismic moment in music history that proved the transformative global power of four boys from Liverpool and their songs. In 2018, 16-year-old Kyle Plush was tragically lost after becoming trapped in his minivan, a heartbreaking story of a life cut short despite his desperate pleas for help and the modern technology that eventually found him. Developed around 1941, this prototype of Soviet night vision goggles reveals the early cumbersome efforts to master the darkness, a technological leap that would eventually change the face of modern warfare and surveillance forever. In Oaxaca, Mexico in 1979, the striking image of the Lady of the Iguanas captures a powerful blend of indigenous tradition and surreal beauty, celebrating the strength and cultural pride of the women who call it home. Kurt Cobain stands beside a statue of Ronald McDonald in Singapore in 1992, a surreal and candid moment of a grunge icon navigating global fame while maintaining his own unique, often subversive perspective on the modern world. In his final role as The Crow in 1994, Brandon Lee delivered a haunting and powerful performance that would become his legacy, a tragic masterpiece completed after his untimely death that continues to resonate with audiences today. In 1949, the fog-drenched streets of London reveal a city still recovering from war, where the quiet resilience of its people is etched into every shadowy corner and historic brick as they navigate a landscape of rebuilding. Campaigning door-to-door in West Virginia in 1960, John F. Kennedy connects directly with the working class, a pivotal strategy that would ultimately help propel the young charismatic senator toward his historic and transformative presidency in the United States. Moments before a final tragic execution in Bolivia in 1967, CIA operative Felix Rodriguez stands beside the captured revolutionary Che Guevara, documenting a heavy, silent transition that would soon turn the man into an enduring global icon. In a surreal glimpse of her California life in 1994, actress Tippi Hedren casually answers the phone while her pet tiger Zoe leaps through the kitchen window, illustrating the wild and dangerous boundaries of her unique domestic world. Thousands of protesters filled the streets of Berlin in 1932 for a massive anti-Nazi demonstration, a powerful but ultimately fleeting stand against the rising tide of extremism that would soon plunge the entire world into total darkness. Puffing away with a surprisingly calm expression, a little kid enjoys a cigar in the 1920s, a shocking yet candid snapshot of a bygone era when childhood norms and societal boundaries were vastly different from those of today. In 1974, Mary Wallace made history as the very first female bus driver for the Chicago Transit Authority, breaking through a significant professional barrier and paving the way for countless women to follow in her steady footsteps. Ciao. The end of the invasion of Poland in September 1939, a German and a Soviet officer share a grim handshake, sealing a temporary and cynical alliance that signaled the beginning of the world's most devastating global conflict. While the earth trembles beneath them in 1926, locals in New Zealand watch the dramatic eruption of Mount Ngauruhoe, standing in awe of the raw, primal power that nature can unleash upon the landscape at any given moment. Captured in a moody 1978 portrait. The members of Fleetwood Mac embody the peak of their creative and personal tensions, reflecting the complex melodic genius that defined an era and made them one of history's most legendary bands. To combat the terrifying spread of the Spanish flu in 1918, American soldiers were ordered to gargle with salt water, a desperate and simple attempt at protection during one of the deadliest global pandemics in all of history. Before they became legends of psychedelic rock, the members of Pink Floyd are seen performing in Aarhus, Denmark in 1967, capturing the early experimental energy of a band that would eventually reshape the entire landscape of modern music. During a royal summit in Hesse in 1899, European monarchs are caught in a rare, playful moment of laughter, oblivious to the fact that their families would soon be torn apart by the coming storms of global war. Cruising through the streets of Los Angeles in 1992, Mick Jagger shares a sleek car with a leopard, a striking image of rock and roll decadence that blends wild animal ferocity with the undeniable cool magnetism of a music icon. Through the observant lens of Vivian Maier, the streets of mid-century Chicago come alive with hidden stories, capturing the quiet, everyday moments of ordinary people that might have otherwise been lost to the relentless passage of urban time. Exhausted and weathered by the brutal conditions of the Great War, an Austro-Hungarian soldier stares forward. In 1918, his hollow eyes reflecting the profound psychological and physical toll of years spent fighting in the muddy, frozen trenches. Soaking up the sun in Biarritz during the 1930s, a stylish couple enjoys a peaceful afternoon on the French coast, capturing a fleeting moment of European elegance and leisure just years before the shadows of war returned. In a massive Manag plant in 1942, Germany workers stand beneath the gargantuan hook of a 300-ton crane, a chilling testament to the industrial scale of production required to fuel a nation's relentless and destructive war machine. Crowds cheered as the very first train crossed the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge in 1932, a monumental achievement in engineering that finally connected the city and became an enduring symbol of Australian pride and modern progress for all. In a modified adult dock, built so they could see the courtroom Britain's youngest murder convicts heard their 1993 verdict, marking a dark and haunting chapter in criminal history that forced a nation to confront uncomfortable truths. Born into the golden age of Hollywood in 1941, Sean Leslie Flynn inherited the dashing looks of his famous father Errol, before later carving out his own brave and dangerous legacy as a celebrated photojournalist in war. Zones. These two portraits of Tom Torlino from 1882 and 1885 reveal the jarring physical transformation of a Navajo youth at a boarding school, a somber visual record of the government's aggressive efforts to erase indigenous cultural identity. Commanding the vast stage at Wembley Stadium with unmatched charisma, Freddie Mercury leads thousands in a powerful anthem capturing the transcendent energy and vocal brilliance that made him one of the greatest live performers in musical history. Gazing across the tracks in 1983 and again in 2026, the view of a train passing the Taj Mahal illustrates the steady passage of time against the backdrop of an eternal monument that remains beautifully and perfectly still. For his final lunch as president on August 8, 1974, Richard Nixon chose a simple meal of pineapple and cottage cheese just hours before announcing his historic resignation to a stunned and weary nation on national television. Arrested during a 1961 protest, Joan Trumpauer Mulholland was actually tested for mental illness by authorities who simply could not understand why a white woman would risk her safety to fight for the civil rights of others. Posing proudly with her horse between 1900 and 1915, African-American cowgirl Nellie Brown represents a hidden chapter of the American West, where women of color played vital, often uncredited roles in the rugged life of the frontier. The lush green hills of Verdun today hide a violent past, as this peaceful landscape was once the site of a 302-day battle in 1916 that resulted over 700,000 casualties in one of history's costliest. In the late 1980s, an Afghan man turned a helicopter fuselage into a custom bus, a remarkable feat of ingenuity that repurposed the scrap metal of war into a vital and creative tool for his community's daily survival. In a light-hearted moment amidst the ruins of Rome in 1944, an Italian woman curiously inspects the kilt of a Scottish soldier, a charming cultural exchange that offered a brief, smiling reprieve from the heavy realities of war. Perched precariously atop a stainless steel eagle on the Chrysler Building in 1934, photographer Margaret Bourke-White defied gravity to capture the soaring spirit of New York City, proving her fearless dedication to documenting our world from above. Sporting a fashionable wiglet in the mid-1960s, this young lady showcases the bold, voluminous hair trends that defined an era of feminine style, where glamour and artifice met to create the iconic look of a revolutionary decade. Dressed in their traditional regalia in 1910, Black Horse and Rib Woman of the Siksika Nation stand with profound dignity, preserving the rich cultural heritage and spirit of their people for future generations to honor and remember. The 1996 release of the Nokia 9000 communicator introduced the world to the very first smartphone, a chunky revolutionary device that combined a phone with a full keyboard and changed the way we communicate in our pockets. Gazing through the heavy paint of the Sparks circus clowns in 1925, we see the weary human faces behind the performance, revealing the complex blend of joy and melancholy that has always defined the life of the Aihi traveling. In a striking moment from 1973, a North Vietnamese officer laughs at a captured American soldier's peace symbol, a jarring visual of the ideological ironies and deep human complexities that define the long and painful Vietnam War. Perched high above the city in 1932, the photographer who captured the famous lunch atop a skyscraper balances with incredible nerves, documenting the brave laborers who built the New York skyline, one steel beam at a time. A family stands together outside their trailer park home in 1985, capturing a candid and honest slice of American life that reflects the quiet struggles and enduring bonds of those living on the margins of the modern. A Native American father and son from southeast Idaho are captured in 1897, their stoic expressions and traditional clothing serving as a bridge between a proud ancient past and a future that was rapidly and irrevocably changing. In 1925, the fairy tale towers of Schloss Neuschwanstein rise majestically against the Bavarian sky, a dreamlike vision of architectural romanticism that continues to captivate the world as one of the most beautiful and iconic castles ever built. Workers toil in the dust of 1960 to build the futuristic city of Brasilia, a massive planned capital that rose from the plains as a symbol of Brazil's bold modern ambitions and its hope for a new national era. In a rare and surprising 1932 photograph, the brilliant Albert Einstein shows off a more relaxed and playful side, proving that even the world's most famous physicist possessed a sense of humor and a touch of unexpected charm. In this rare glimpse of Mecca from 1910, the Holy City appears as a quiet, ancient sanctuary long before the massive modern developments of the present day transformed it into the bustling global center for millions of pilgrims. Rising like steel giants above the New York skyline, the Twin Towers are seen here during their early construction, a breathtaking testament to human ambition and the engineering might that defined the city's iconic and historic silhouette. A massive explosion rips through the USS Shaw during the Japanese raid on Pearl Harbor in 1941, a terrifying and pivotal moment that instantly pulled the United States into the heart of the Second World War forever. This haunting last photo of Andrew Macaulay was taken just before his kayak vanished in 2007, leaving behind a legacy of incredible bravery and a tragic reminder of the ocean's unforgiving power during his solo Tasman sea crossing. In a bizarre media frenzy from 1992, paparazzi surround Socks, the Clinton family's cat, illustrating the intense and often strange public fascination that follows every single member of a presidential household into the bright and flashing lights. Under the artificial glow of an ultraviolet lamp in 1977, children in Murmansk received their dose of vitamin D striking ritual of Soviet life designed to sustain health during the long, dark months of the Arctic. In a rare tender moment from 1966, Bruce Lee plays with his young son Brandon, capturing the joyful bond between a legendary martial arts master and the boy who would eventually follow in his father's tragic cinematic footsteps. A lion sits calmly in a motorcycle sidecar during a death-defying wall of death performance in the 1930s, a thrilling and dangerous spectacle that pushed the limits of entertainment in a world hungry for wild, heart-pounding excitement. In a powerful act of raw human vengeance, a freed Jewish prisoner beats a German guard following the liberation of Dachau in 1945, capturing the explosive release of years of bottled-up pain and suffering behind. The Wire. Gazing back from the vastness of space, the Apollo 17 crew captured this iconic view of Earth in 1972, a fragile and beautiful blue marble that reminds us of our shared home and the profound need to protect it. In a staggering display of raw physical power in 1957, Paul Anderson backlifts over 6,000 pounds, a feat that remains one of the greatest weightlifting achievements in history, and solidified his legend as a true world. A startlingly familiar face from an 1870s photograph bears an uncanny resemblance to Justin Timberlake, sparking playful rumors of time travel and reminding us that history often repeats its most recognizable features in the faces of the present. Members of a Mongolian delegation are warmly received in a Soviet town in 1984, capturing a formal yet colorful moment of international diplomacy that celebrated the long-standing political and cultural ties between two neighboring and historic communist nations. In a moment of high political drama during 1974, Secretary Rosemary Woods performs an awkward physical contortion to explain away 18 missing minutes of incriminating White House recordings, leaving the public to question her loyalty and truth. High above the Bavarian Alps in 1945, Richard Winters and the legendary Easy Company gather at the Eagle's Nest to share a quiet, hard-won toast amidst the final crumbling echoes of the once formidable Third Reich's mountain stronghold. Through the quiet landscapes of Michigan during the 1910s, two adventurous riders balance their bicycles precariously along the narrow iron rails of an empty track, capturing a fleeting sun-drenched moment of simple rural American joy and youthful exploration. Radiating the timeless elegance of a true Hollywood icon, the mesmerizing Rita Hayworth gazes softly into the camera around 1940, embodying the sophisticated charm and magnetic screen, a presence that defined an entire golden era of global cinema. Gliding peacefully along the Seine in 1949, this riverboat captures the romantic essence of Paris as Willy Ronis frames a city, rebuilding its soul through the gentle ripples of water and the quiet return of everyday life. Inside a modest garden shed in 1979, Roald Dahl sits nestled within his private writing nook, where his boundless imagination sparked the whimsical magic of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, proving that great wonders often begin in small spaces. Radiating the vibrant energy of 1988, young stars Rob Lowe, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Robert Downey Jr. share a candid laugh at the Governor's Ball, capturing a fleeting moment of Hollywood's future royalty, celebrating under the bright awards lights. Exhausted by the grueling pace of the 1968 presidential campaign, Robert F. Kennedy finds a rare moment of solitude on a plane's floor, a poignant image of a man carrying the heavy weight of a fractured nation's hope. While tirelessly campaigning for his brother in Bluefield, West Virginia during 1960, a focused Robert Kennedy stops for a simple lunch, highlighting the grassroots grit and personal connections that fueled one of the most famous races in history. The haunting gaze of Robert McGee tells a harrowing story of survival in 1890, revealing the visible scars of being scalped as a child. By Sioux Indians, a stark and somber testament to the brutal realities of frontier life. Draped in his eccentric layers of fur and rags, the legendary Robert Patton wanders the streets of Seattle as the Umbrella Man, a beloved local character whose unique spirit and weathered face became a permanent part of the city. Standing as a true marvel of human biology in 1940, Robert Wadlow, the gentle giant of Illinois, towers over his family at nearly 9 feet tall, leaving behind a legacy of immense stature and a remarkably kind, humble heart. Long before he became a household name, a young and expressive Robin Williams performs as a silent mime in Central Park during 1974, using only his physical wit to captivate a passing crowd with his emerging brilliant genius. Deep in the 1960s, the legendary luchador El Santo keeps his iconic silver mask firmly in place while studying a film script, maintaining the mysterious, the heroic persona that made him a beloved cultural symbol throughout the heart of Mexico. During a cold winter in 1930 at the Berlin Zoo, a massive 4,000-pound elephant seal named Roland waits patiently for his handler to provide a refreshing snow bath, a charming and unusual sight from the golden age of zoology. In the wake of the 1969 Manson family murders, a devastated Roman Polanski kneels before his own front door, where a haunting message was, are written in blood, marking a dark and tragic shift in the cultural landscape of Hollywood. Beneath this ancient Roman tomb lies Aeolus, a cheerful little dog whose loss pained his owner beyond measure, serving as a timeless and heart-wrenching reminder that the deep, loving bond between humans and their pets is truly eternal.